Hi everyone and welcome back to my class. Here, this is the last unit of this course. We've discussed a lot about words, phrases, and clauses before, and here is about the sentence. Do you know what the sentence is? The sentence is a set of words that is complete in itself. Okay, so you need to see this keyword. It's complete in itself, and it usually contains what is called subject and predicate. Okay, so in one sentence, it can be divided into two parts. The first part is called subject, and another part is called predicate. I will talk about this more in details later. And they normally conveys a statement, question, exclamation, or command. So it means that when we are talking about the function of the sentence, it can be divided into four ways. That is statement, question, exclamation, or command. Okay, and what else? It consists of a main clause. Okay, and sometimes one or more subordinate clauses. So from previous video, we've discussed about the clauses. So it means that in one sentence, what we need is the main clause. That is like the core. That is the main thing of the sentence. We can't miss this part. But apart from just the main clause, it's possible that we can have some kind of subordinate clause, right? And sentence normally starts with a capital letter when it's a written form. So you can see that if it is like a complete sentence, we normally start with a capital letter and they normally ends with some kind of punctuation, right? It can be period, or like the full stop, or it can be the question mark, it can be exclamation mark, or any other kind of punctuation. Okay, for example, he is very impatient and always interrupts me mid-sentence. Okay, or your conclusion is good, but the final sentence is too long and complicated. So you can see that both of these sentences, they do have the subject part and the predicate part. Where is the subject part of the first sentence? That is the word he. And then we can have like the predicate part, like he is very patient and always interrupt me mid-sentence. Okay, and it starts with the capital letter, like the letter H, and ends with the period at the end of the sentence. And both of these sentences, they are containing the main clause, right? And also for the second one, your conclusion is good. That is the first main clause or the first independent clause, and we are joining the two clauses together by using the coordinating conjunction but, and we have another independent clause. The final sentence is too long and complicated. So this is just the example of the sentence. And here what is called subject and predicate part. So don't forget that in one sentence, what we need is the subject part and the predicate part. So in this sentence, she plays the piano. Only a simple sentence here, we have both parts. The word in blue, that is the word she, that is the subject part. And those phrases in red, that is plays the piano, that is the predicate. So where does the predicate begin in the sentence? You can see from the main verb, including the auxiliary. Okay, so it depends on the sentence whether they do have some kind of auxiliary or not. If there is the auxiliary, don't forget to include those auxiliary, but if not, you can just start right with the main verb. Okay, so this is the way that we just define the parts of the sentence. Let's start with the subject first. What is a subject? A subject is a person or thing that is doing an action, or the person or thing that is the focus of the sentence. Okay, and most of the subject comes at the beginning of the sentence. You can see from the SVO structure, we normally start with the subject. Okay, so it's really easy to identify the subject part of the sentence. Like the two sentences here, Mary likes to run at the public park, and that you can see the word Mary before the verb, right? So the word Mary is the subject part of this sentence. Or another one, my brother throws him the ball, like the word my brother, that is the subject part of this sentence. So you can see that the subject is the one who do or who does some kind of action. Okay, and for the subject itself, it can be divided into three subtypes, namely simple subjects, compound subjects and complete subjects. Okay, let's start with the first one. The first one is called simple subjects. The reason why it's called simple subjects, that's because there is only one actor. Okay, there is only one actor, so there is no use of coordinating on conjunction and for the part of the subject. I'm talking only about the part of the subject, okay? Not and that is used within the sentence, but here only like the part of the subject. And it doesn't matter what they do, just that there is only one, okay? But think about like the word boy and boys. It's counted as the simple subjects, okay? Because there is only one group of the subject here in that sentence. For example, Amber likes to write her own stories and draw her own pictures, and that is only one girl, that is the subject, Amber. The snowman, friend to all the children, melts in the snow, so just the snowman, that is the simple subject, nothing else. Or go to your room, even the subject is omitted. It can be claimed as the simple subjects as well, because in this kind of sentence you can see that is the subject you is omitted. It means that we only have one subject here, that is the subject you. And the last one, the policy was proposed and passed by the Congress of Legislators and the President. The policy, that is the simple subjects in this sentence. That's because we have only one group of the subject here. Okay, so that is number one for the simple subject. What is the next one? Next one is called compound subjects. As you can see from its name, like the word compound, right? So for here, think about two or more people or more things, okay, doing some kind of action and excluding, plural nouns, excluding, okay? So it means that if we have like the word boys, the boys, that will be simple subject. But if we have like boys and girls, that's gonna be compound subjects, because we have like two groups of subject. Okay, in the example, what we have is the children's books and backpacks were stolen while they were at lunch. So there are two nouns, there are two subjects here in the first sentence, the word books and the word backpacks. Good. The zoo and ice cream store were the favorite destinations of Todd and Sally. So we have two subjects here in this sentence as well. Is that right? That is the word zoo and ice cream store. Okay, so I think now you can see the difference between the first two types of the subject, that is the simple subject and the compound subject. Okay, don't forget that if we are using the compound subject, it's possible that we can use some kind of coordinating conjunction, particularly the word and can be used here as a compound subjects. Okay, let's see the last one, that is the complete subjects. Okay, complete subjects. Complete subjects include the main noun and all of its modifiers. Okay, so it means that once that you have only one noun, but we have some kind of adjectives or some kind of prepositional phrase used to modify that noun, they all included in this type of subject. Okay, so for example, the school bus went quickly over the road. So if we only have like the bus, if it's only the bus, that will be just a simple subject. But here we just give some modifier. It's not just an ordinary bus, but it's the school bus. So the word school here is used to modify the word bus. Alright, here this is called the complete subjects, not just the simple one. Okay, next one. The gentle giant in the yellow hat climbed down the large tree. So in this one, this is the phrase, right? This is the noun phrase, the gentle giant in the yellow hat. You can see that the head word of this noun phrase, that is the word giant, but it's used with many modifiers, that is the gentle and in the yellow hat. So in this case, it's not just the simple subjects anymore. It can be the simple subject in case that we only have like the giant climbed down the large tree. In that case, that is the simple subject. Okay, but here is the complete subjects. And the last one, the blue and white hat belonged to my aunt. So for this one, even we have one word, I mean the head word, that is the word hat, and we are using the word and here, but we only have one noun. But that noun we have many modifiers like the blue and white. Okay, so we have many modifiers to modify the word hat. That's why this is the complete subjects. Next, let's talk about the predicate part of the sentence. Okay, so as you know that we have two parts of the sentence, namely subject and predicate. Here is the part of the predicate. So the predicate of the sentence is the part that contains the action. So it means that we are talking about the verb. Okay, so we can say that the verb phrase is considered as the predicate part of the sentence. It's a part of the sentence that is not the subject, and it includes all descriptions of the action and the objects that are affected by the action. So from last time when we've discussed about the verb phrase, can you remember we start from where? We start from the main verb, including auxiliary and other modifiers, particularly like object of the sentence. So that is the predicate part. Okay, so we can say that the verb phrase can act as the predicate part of the sentence. What we have here, the example, Mary likes to run at a public park. Okay, and my brother throws him the ball. Actually, I am using exactly the same example with the subject part. Okay, so you can see that Mary and my brother, that is the subject part that we have talked about earlier, and likes to run at a public park and throws him the ball, that is the part of VP, verb phrase, and here they act as the predicate part of the sentence. And for the predicate part, it can be divided into three ways, exactly the same concept as the subject. Okay, that's because we have simple predicates, compound predicates, and complete predicates. So I'm pretty sure that if you understand clearly about the subject, you will definitely understand about the predicate. Okay, let's start with the first one, simple predicates. So as its name, once again, when it's simple, so it means that the subject does only one thing, only one action. Okay, this means that there is only one verb. All right, the kangaroo is jumping, James slept, she sang, the sun was shining. So you can see that in all of these four sentences, we only have one verb for each of the sentence. Okay, jumping, slept, sang, and shining, including auxiliary. Okay, including auxiliary. What about compound predicate? So I think you can guess, right? If it is a compound predicate, so there should be two verbs with and. Okay, let's see. Number two, compound predicates. Compound predicates need to include two different actions or two verbs that the subject or subjects do. Okay, the water bottle had water and sat on the table. Here we have two verbs in this sentence, that is the verb had and the verb sat, and they are joining by using coordinating conjunction and. Okay, the next example is Gordon and Anna went to the library and read. So can you find two verbs here in this sentence? Alright, the first one is the word went and another one is the word read. That's right. What about finish washing the dishes and put them back? Oh, this one. We also have two verbs here, right? That is the word to finish and to put back. Okay, good. The last one, the newspapers and websites all were screened and approved by the government's propaganda. So in this sentence, even it's not in the active structure, it's in the passive structure, but we can identify the compound predicates as well. So we have were screened and were approved as the verb of this sentence. So you can see that we have two verbs here. All right. Pretty simple. Next one, number 3, complete predicates. So if it's complete subject, you can see that we have like the noun plus some kind of modifiers like the adjective or probably preposition phrase or pp, right? But if it is the verb, what can be included in order to be the modifier of the verb? Let's think about this. That should be adverb at least, right? We can use some kind of adverb to modify the verb, and also some kind of prepositional phrase, because the prepositional phrase can do everything. Okay, so let's see. Complete predicates include the main verbs and all of the modifiers, objects and phrases that add on to it. Everything is included, okay? Like the school bus went quickly over the road, like the word went, we have that word. And we also have some kind of adverb like the word quickly and over the road, that is the preposition phrase to modify the word went. The gentle giant in the yellow hat, okay, again, climbed down the large tree. So we have like some prepositional phrase in order to modify this. And also belonged to my aunt. It's not just the verb, but we have some kind of modifiers, we have some kind of object at the end of the sentence, right? And also this historic building is now a museum. Okay, so you can see that it's not only the verb is, but we also have some kind of subject complement, okay, and some of the adverb of time to modify this one. Okay, so think about this. If it is simple, nothing to modify, just there itself, even is the subject or is the predicate. Or if it is the compound subject or compound predicate, that should be something like the word and. And for number 3, I mean for complete both subject and complete predicates, what we need is some kind of modifiers. So think about this. Alright, let's move on to another part. Here is about the types of sentences. Okay, so when we are talking about the type of sentences, we can identify the type of sentences in many ways. Okay, and in my lesson, I will identify by 2 ways. The first one, it will be considered by their function, and another way that will be depending on their structure. Okay, let's start with the easiest one, that is about the function. You can see that the type of the sentence can be identified into 4 different types in terms of their functions. Okay, the first one is called declarative sentence, the next one imperative sentence, the third one interrogative sentence, and the last one exclamatory sentence. Okay, the first one, declarative sentence, or to be easy, we can say that is the statement. Okay, the declarative sentence or the statement is just to give the facts or an opinion. That is what we normally use in our daily life, right? To explain, to give the idea, or to discuss, or whatever. And they normally ends in a period. Okay, full stop. Okay, they tell the reader what is going on in a direct way. Okay, I need that, I want to go there, or stuff like that. And this is the most common type of the sentences that they can be found in most writing, from creative or business. It's not only writing, actually, it's for speaking as well. Okay, what do we have here? He loves pizza. The car is white. I like climbing. She had to make the next flight. She quickly packed her bag. It had rained for days. The town was flooded. She plays the piano and he sings along. So very simple, right? They normally start with the capital letters and end with the periods. That's it for the declarative sentence. That is just to give some kind of information, to give some kind of opinion. Next one, that is imperative sentence. Okay, so this kind of sentence is normally used for a command or a polite request. Okay, and normally ends with an exclamation mark or a period. I mean the punctuation. Both of these punctuation can be used at the end of this type of the sentence. This is to provide some kind of instruction, to make a request or demand, or even to offer an invitation or advice. So we can use the imperative sentence in many ways. And what is important here for the imperative sentence, you can see that we normally omit the subject. Okay, so if it's like the command, if you're commanding, if you are requesting something, normally we just omit the subject from the sentence. For example, clean your room. So this should be your mom, right? Clean your room. So the exclamation mark at the end, that is to show some kind of feeling from your mom. Clean your room now. Complete this by tomorrow. This can be my instruction. Okay, complete this tomorrow, everyone. Wait for me. That is your friend. Okay, preheat the oven. Don't eat all the cookies. Please join us for dinner. Wear your gold necklace with that dress. So you can see that we have several ways in order to use the imperative sentence, right? It can be like the advice, it can be some kind of invitation, and it can be used with the word don't, or even like the word please, to make it polite. Okay, so this is very simple. I know that all of you can use the imperative sentence well. Okay, be good students. All right. Next one, interrogative sentence. Actually, you've seen the word interrogative for the whole semester, right? When we are talking about the interrogative, so that should be about the question. That's right. That is to ask a direct question, and they normally ends with a question mark. That's right. So you can see that all of this, they ends with the question mark. Is that right? So let's see. Was the movie enjoyable? Did the girls get to school on time? Would you like cookies or a banana for dessert? Do you think I should go home or stay a little longer? So for the first 4 sentences, the first 4 questions, they are called yes-no question. Okay, so it seems that we better say yes, no, or please, or whatever. That is yes-no question. And then, what is the right way to iron a shirt? When are the best days to go to the mall? Where is your new cat? So for these 3 sentences, these 3 questions, they are called WH questions because it starts with WH questions. Yes, definitely. When, where, why, how, stuff like that. Okay, but for the last 2, you are a cute one, aren't you? You think you're so smart, don't you? Okay, so the last 2 sentences, the last 2 questions, what is called at the end? That is called the question tag. Okay, the question tag. So the way that we just form the structure of the question tag is that you just use the statement, okay, and then just use the auxiliary and then the subject to help you forming the question tag. If the statement is the positive, you need to make the question tag negative, and vice versa. If you are using the statement in the negative way, in the negative structure, and then you need to form the question tag in the positive one. Okay, so here this is the way that we can use the interrogative sentence, but anyway, that is just to ask some kind of questions. Okay, next one, actually the last one, for the functions of the sentence, this is called exclamatory sentence. Here this is just to express your excitement or some kind of emotion, and they must end with an exclamation mark. Okay, that is just to give the feeling. Okay, what a lovely bouquet of flowers. Wow, that birthday cake was so good. That's such a gorgeous ring. Wow, I really love you. Thank you, Sheldon. Okay, so that is to give your emotion, that is to express your feeling. Okay, well, some of you may wonder, well, it's quite similar with the imperative sentence because we can use the exclamation mark at the end. Well, I have to say that if it is exclamatory sentence, you will just form the statement. Okay, we have the subject, some kind of verb, and like the rest of the sentence ending with the exclamation mark. But if it is the imperative sentence, you won't see any subject. So that's the point. Okay, but for the imperative sentence, it depends. You may give some kind of feeling, like your mom asks you to clean the room right now, so she can say clean the room with the exclamation like at the end of the sentence in the written form. But there is no subject for the imperative sentence. But here for the exclamatory sentence, you can see exactly the same as the statement, but just the excitement, just the feeling. So ending with exclamation mark. Okay, good. Let's move on to another part of the types of the sentence. So here is the types of the sentence once again, but in terms of their structure. Before we've discussed about the function of the sentence, right? But here they are the structure of the sentence, and it can be divided, it can be identified in 4 ways, 4 different types as follows. Let's start with the first one, that is called simple sentence. Hopefully that it should be simple as its name, right? Number 2, compound sentence. Number 3, complex sentence. And the last one, compound complex sentence. Okay, let's start with the first one, that is the simple sentence. So the simple sentence is one independent clause that has a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. So I can say that this is exactly the same story with when we've discussed about independent clause last time. Okay, that's because we have subject and then verb to express a complete thought. That's it for the simple sentence. What do we have here? Joe waited for the train. The train was late. Mary and Samantha took the bus. I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. So we have Joe waited, the train was late, Mary and Samantha took, I looked for Mary and Samantha. So all of them, they are just the subject and verb. Okay, nothing else. And all of them, they are a complete thought. You can understand all of this clearly. Okay, they are just a simple sentence. But what we have next, that is called compound sentence. Okay, compound sentence. So for the compound sentence, what we need is 2 independent clauses. For the simple sentence, what we need is only 1 independent clause. Once that you have 2 independent clauses, you need the connectors, that is called coordinating conjunction, and I mark all of them in blue. Okay, so in green that is independent clause, and in blue that is coordinating conjunction used to join those 2 independent clauses together. Okay, so what we have here, Joe waited for the train, that is the first independent clause, and then we use the word but to join another independent clause, that is the train was late. Okay, so if it's compound sentence, you will definitely see the coordinating conjunction. Okay, next one, I looked for Mary and Samantha at the bus station. The first independent clause, and then but they arrived at the station before noon. Okay, next one, Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, that is the first one, and I arrived. Okay, I arrived, that is the second independent clause. Mary and Samantha left on the bus. I did not see them at the bus station. So you can see that we have 2 independent clauses joining by using coordinating conjunction. That is the characters of compound sentence. Don't forget about this. 2 independent clauses and joining together by using coordinating conjunction. Alright, let's move on. Next is called complex sentence. Okay, so I just changed to another color. What we need for the complex sentence, we need independent clause, I marked in green. What else? We need one or more dependent clauses, and I marked dependent clauses in purple. Okay, and they are introduced by subordinating conjunctions or relatives, like relatives pronoun, relatives adverb, or even relative adjectives, and I mark in bold. Okay, purple but in bold. Okay, for example, because Mary and Samantha arrived at the bus station before noon, this is in purple. This is what is called dependent clause, starting introducing by the use of the word because, and the word because is the subordinating conjunction, right? So this is dependent clause. And we also have one independent clause, that is I did not see them at the station, and I mark it in green. So you can see that one complex sentence, what we need is both independent clause and dependent clause joining together by using subordinating conjunction or probably relatives. Okay, next one. While he waited at the train station, that is the first dependent clause, Joe realized here, this is independent clause, that the train was late. That is another dependent clause. Okay, so it's possible, as is mentioned, that it can be only one or more dependent clauses, okay, and to be attached with independent clause or the main clause. The next one, after they left on the bus, Mary and Samantha realized that Joe was waiting at the train station. So the third one is exactly the same way as the second sentence, because we have two dependent clauses and we have at least one independent clause here in this sentence, and this is called complex sentence. So once again, don't forget that if it is the complex sentence, what we need is one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Okay, and when you combine compound and complex together to make even longer sentence, and what we get is called compound complex sentence. So you can see that I marked in three colors. Okay, I marked in three colors. That's because if it is compound sentence, we need two independent clauses, right? So there should be two greens in each sentence plus coordinating conjunction in blue. What else? There must be one dependent clause introduced by subordinating conjunction or relatives. So you must find the purple one in that sentence. Okay, let's see. When I grow up, when I grow up, that is dependent clause starting by using the subordinating conjunction when, right? And then I want to be a ballerina. This is the first independent clause. Okay, my mom is proud of me. That is the second independent clause joining together by using coordinating conjunction and. Okay, so you can see that this is like the complete sentence, a compound complex sentence, because they just follow like all of the criteria of compound complex sentence. Once again, we won the game. The first independent clause, my uniform was muddy. That is the second dependent clause, and they are joined together by using the word but. Because it rained the entire time. That is dependent clause. Okay, that to make it complex. Sarah cried when her cat got sick, but he soon got better. You can see two greens, right? Sarah cried and he soon got better. That is two independent clauses joining together by using the coordinating conjunction but. When her cat got sick, that is dependent clause starting with the word when. The last one, the sun is shining through the clouds, so I think that we can go swimming. We have two greens, two independent clauses. The sun is shining through the clouds, I think and they are joined by using the word so. And then that we can go swimming, that is dependent clause. Okay. Alright, here this is the last topic for my video. It is the basic sentence patterns. If you just follow these basic sentence patterns, I'm pretty sure that you can just write, that you can compose, that you can speak English grammatically. And we only have 5 patterns. Let's start with the first one. We normally start with the subject, as you know. So there should be subject and then linking verb. Can you still remember about the linking verb? That can be verb to be in any tenses, right? Or it can be the word like seem, like the word sound, the word taste. And then it can be followed by what is called subject complement. Okay, and what can be the subject complement? You can see in the brackets. It can be noun phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase, or even the prepositional phrase. For example, you are a doctor. Now you can see subject is the word you, linking verb the word are, and a doctor, that is the subject complement, and that is the noun phrase. Good. Miss Kim is kind and helpful. Kind and helpful, that is adjective phrase, right? All the guests were downstairs. Were downstairs. So downstairs, that is adverb phrase, that is to tell about the place, right? The students are in the classroom. So in the classroom, that is the prepositional phrase. So all of this, they are all possible to be the subject complement of this type of the sentence. Okay, so this is really basic. Just follow these rules. Subject and then linking verb and then followed by the subject complement. This is the first one. So the second one, this is subject plus intransitive verb. So intransitive verbs, they are verbs that do not require any objects, right? So they look like this. Elizabeth swims. Dolphins leap. A light was shining. Horses run. The canary sings sweetly. So you see that we have subject and then intransitive verb like the word swim, leap, shine, runs, and the word sing. That's it for the subject and intransitive verb. Next one, number 3. This is subject and then transitive verb and the direct object. That's because the transitive verb is the verb that require at least one direct object. Is that right? Okay, like John hated lima beans. Books convey ideas. Books were read to the children. The speaker discussed different marketing strategies in the video, and the instructor addressed the students' question. So we just follow the basic sentence patterns. Like the first one, John hated lima beans. John is the subject, hated is the transitive verb, and lima beans, that is the direct object of this sentence. What about others? Books, subject, convey, transitive verb, and ideas, that is the direct object. So it depends on the meaning of the transitive verb, right? Whether they really need the direct object in that case or not. And also in number 3, books were read to the children, even like the passive voice. This is the form that is called the passive voice. This is also one of the basic sentence patterns, that is to use the transitive verb. Next, in number 4, it's a little bit different from number 3. Even we are using the same verb, that is transitive verb, but what we need is like some kind of component after the direct object. Okay, let's see. In number 4, what we have is the subject and then transitive verb, and it must be followed by the direct object. But it's not only that. What we need is the object complement right after the direct object to fulfill the direct object. Okay, so this is not the indirect and direct object, because that would be something else. It should be ditransitive, right? But here is not the ditransitive. So what we need is the direct object, but another one is the object complement, okay? And we look like this. Samantha called her sister a baby. So we would have, so it means that we have Samantha as the subject. The word called, that is the transitive verb. And the direct object is the word her sister. But the word a baby, it's not the indirect nor direct object of this sentence. But this is the object complement, because her sister and a baby, that is the same person. Is that right? Okay. And if we just remove a baby, we can get something else. Samantha called her sister. Calls her sister as what? Okay. So it's possible that you can just add some kind of word, like called her sister as something, okay, or known as something, for some kind of sentence. Or another one, the king made Kelvin a knight. The king made Kelvin a knight. So we have the king as the subject, made as a transitive verb, we have Kelvin as the direct object. But the word a knight, that is object complement, that is about the Kelvin. We can say the king made Kelvin to be a knight. So that is another way that to make sure that that is the object complement. It's not the object of the sentence. Not just the object, but it's object complement. It's different. Okay. I found the guard sleeping. So I, subject, found, transitive verb, the guard, that is the direct object. Sleeping, that is just the object complement to fulfill the word the guard, okay, to give more information about the guard. We all consider her unworthy of the position, and also of the position, that is to fulfill her unworthy. So I can say that for the form of the object complement are various. That's because it can be the noun phrase, it can be participial phrase, or even it can be the prepositional phrase. But the function of object complement, that is to fulfill, that is to give more information about that direct object before it. Okay? And it's nothing about direct object or indirect object for the transitive verb. It's different one. That's because if you want to talk about indirect and direct object, it's here in number 5. Okay, that is subject and then ditransitive verb, then it's followed by indirect object and direct object. So we need to follow this pattern. Let's see. The writer sold his publisher a 3-part story. The writer as the subject, sold as a ditransitive verb, his publisher is an indirect object, and a 3-part story, that is the direct object of this sentence. Okay, and we cannot say like to be or known as or stuff like that. It's different from number 4. And next one, the pitcher threw the catcher a ball, and the pitcher subject, threw ditransitive verb, the catcher indirect object, and a ball direct object. Okay, he should have written you a proper letter. Okay, he subject, should have written ditransitive verb, you indirect object, and a proper letter direct object. And the last one, she is baking him a cake. She subject is baking ditransitive verb, him indirect object, and a cake is direct object. So you can see that if you can answer the question of what, that will be the direct object. For example, like the last sentence, what is she baking? Oh, she's baking a cake, right? But if you can answer the question like for whom, to whom, that should be the position of the indirect object. To whom, for whom is she baking a cake? That is indirect object. And for what we have, transitive verb and ditransitive verb, they can be the active structure. We can use like the sentence, we can just form the sentence in the active structure. But don't forget that we also have another type of the structure that is called the passive structure, and that will look like this, the passive voice. How can we use the passive voice, everyone? We just use the passive voice to show the interest in the person or object that experience that action, not the one who do that action, okay, but ones who experience some kind of action. And the most important thing or person becomes the subject of the sentence. So we need to switch, right? If you are using the active voice and then you just change to the passive voice, you need to switch the subject. Sometimes we use the passive voice because we don't know or we do not want to express who performed the action. So sometimes if you're using some formal language, so there is no need to mention about the subject, okay, so we better use the passive voice structure instead. Here example, the cat was chasing the mouse. So this is the active voice. That's because we merely focused about the cat who did this action, okay. But another one, the mouse was being chased by the cat. So here we just change the interest to the person or to the object that experienced the action of being chased. So we have to say the mouse was being chased by the cat instead. And I have some of the example of the active voice and the passive voice here. Sally drove her car off the road. Subject is the word Sally, drove is the action, that is the verb, right? And her car, that is the object. So if you just change the passive voice, you need to put the car first. The car was driven off the road by Sally. So we just change the interest. The dog bit Timmy on the arm, okay, and then we would change to Timmy was bitten on the arm by the dog. So the most important part of the passive voice, that is what we need is verb to be and then past participle form of the verb. And it's possible to use by, but sometimes it can be removed, okay, it depends. And you can see like the whole list of the different form of the passive voice in each tense in the book, okay. So you can just review about how to use the active voice into the passive voice yourself in the book. Actually, I have one more topic to talk about, that is about the analysis of the sentence structure by using the phrase structure rule, but I will discuss about this in the class with all of you. Alright, so here this is the end of my video. Thank you very much for watching and see you again in class. See you, bye.